'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Bienvenidas al podcast Dos Bold Latinas. Aquí están sus hosts, Jatna Abreu
y Josibel Madera Vialet, dos latinas feministas born in Santo Domingo y in New York.
Passionate about Latina empowerment, Spanglish,
learning, growth, and so much more.
Hola, mujeres. Today, we bring to you a couple of our favorite topics. Self-love, empowerment, and shifting our mindsets. And we are doing this with a special guest whose passion is to support others on their journey to self-discovery. Her name is Marveliz Polanco, who migrated to the US as a child and grew up in New York. She worked in the corporate world and human resources for over 12 years. However, she made the decision to make a career shift to become a certified coach in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis. Marveliz will be sharing with us some topics of self-love and how we can accomplish everything we put our minds into and get what we want in life. So without any further ado, we would like to welcome Marveliz to our podcast, and we'll dive right into learn from Marveliz today.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I'm so happy to be here.
Bienvenida, Marveliz. Thank you
Gracias.
so much for being with us here today. And as I was hearing Jana, I'm like, I really want to know more about you, Marveliz. Like before we started recording, guys, we were like, oh, we were listening to other podcasts she's done and trying to get to know her some more. Because when when you came across us, I was like, I don't even know what and hypnosis. And I'm like, what is all of this, John? I'm like, have you heard of this? So tell us about you. Like, we are so excited to let our audience know who you are. Just to tell you guys, like, this is another badass Latina that we have here today. You will feel her vibe for sure. So anyways, tell us like a little bit about you, where you were born, tu cultura, familia, your career.
Amazing. So I was born in Venezuela. My parents are Dominican. So they migrated from Dominican Republic to Venezuela, and that's where I was born. And then when I was around 7, they made the decision to migrate to the United States. I grew up in the Bronx, in New York City. So shout out to everyone from the Bronx. And, growing there and learning a new language, it was, challenging. But, as a child, I believe that that's something that you just pick up faster than, the adults in your household. And then I went to, private school. I went to Catholic school. It was very challenging to adapt. So a lot of my schooling came from scholarships. So, I was very grateful for those opportunities that were presented to me because it was something that my parents, couldn't afford. And then, I graduated from Catholic school, went to college, and eventually started my career in human resources. And, I started all the way from the bottom, from being a coordinator, and worked my way up to an HR, manager, senior manager. And it was a roller coaster. And through HR, you just learn so much about people, about people's cultures, behaviors. I was mainly on the employee relations side. So I was really the face-to-face with employees and employee issues and terminations. So, being able to kind of read people's minds and behaviors was something that always interested me. And seeing why people acted the way that they acted when they were reprimanded, or when something was done wrong, or they were in trouble, or whatever the case was, it was interesting to see how they would react and the reason why they would react that way. So that's what I kind of like started experimenting with, learning more about the brain and people and their behaviors. And that's what led me to coaching. So, after the pandemic, and seeing how many people were let go, were furloughed, were terminated. This had been like, my fifth or fourth cycle of massive layoffs throughout my career. And, I was like, this is never going to end. Like, a job can just change your entire life in a blink of an eye. And I decided to just start working for myself. And I will say it's very challenging. It's not easy, but it is rewarding to know that you have something of your own, and that it can't be taken away from you like a position in like the corporate world can. So I hope that sums it up.
Yes, of course. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's very difficult though, like being in the site. Like I said earlier before we started recording, like I've been in HR, but I was fortunate to be like where my passion is, which is, talent management. And it was more about like empowering people like within the organization. But I know it's really hard when you have to be on that end where like employee relations, where you have to literally like on a daily just like terminate people and fire people and let them go, and just like telling them like it has like you have to have some sort of like courage to like tell them,
and you have to have empathy, and that empathy that you need to have, even when you know that some, like there was a company, I won't drop any names, but like they had a massive layoff, but it was because of money that they were stealing behind the scenes. So the people that got impacted were the innocent employees, and that hurts, So you have to have that level of like empathy to actually, pull through with that.
For sure. So so again, like you talked about being in HR, and that like now like you've shifted to being a coach. But can you elaborate on how and why you decided to make that decision? I know you said a little bit about it, like, why you wanted to like shift. But can you say a little more as to why you left the corporate world to become a coach and provide your like actual own services? And how did you figure that out? Like, how did you figure out like, you know what, I'm going to leave my corporate job where I'm very stable, right? Because like usually that's, the corporate world, like when you have that kind of job is very stable. And then I'm just gonna go out and do my own thing. Like, how did you prepare yourself to do that? And can you walk us through those steps on how people can do that?
Well, it's challenging. I know that, corporate jobs are allegedly stable, but it's only until they need you, or it's only until it's beneficial for them. And I'm not saying, listen, if you want to stay in a corporate job and climb the ladder, by all means, I support that as well. Not everyone is meant to have a business or be an entrepreneur. And I completely understand that, but at least get the most that you can from the position that you're in. Like, don't stay being a coordinator for 10 years, knowing that you can be a manager or you can do the job better than other people. It's always about the growth and moving up. But for me, it was after being in this corporate setting for so many years and seeing the same repetitive cycle, no matter what companies I went to, it was time for me to make a decision. Okay, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So I kind of had to like, step outside of the box and say, what's truly my passion? What is it that I want to do? And that's when coaching kind of just fell into my laps. And I was like, well, I want to continue to learn about this. And I want to continue to empower people. I want to empower women who want more from life, who want more, but don't know how to kind of like connect the dots to get there. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are living in that cycle of like the hamster wheel, and I witnessed that within my corporate jobs, where there was people that were working there in the same role for several years. And it's like, you're so smart, you're so talented, you could be doing so much more for the world, but they were complacent and they were okay with that. And, I had to kind of like step out of that and I had to like use them as mirrors in a way and say, well, this is not where I want to be. I want better. I want to help people. I want to empower people. So that's what kind of like made me go get certified and start my practice. And I will say that it's not easy. There's a roller coaster of emotions, of questioning yourself, of, you needing support, because if it's something that you've never done before, then you're going to need the guidance in order for you to be able to achieve that. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of mindset work that needs to go into when you're going to become an entrepreneur. Even if you have parents who are entrepreneurs, you have to go through that whole, I'm worthy of having a business. I'm smart enough to have a business. I can do this. So it's kind of like learning about yourself, but also knowing that you're in this for the long run, no matter how difficult or challenging it is.
Oh man, estoy tragando like seca. Like I'm feeling something to my body because Jana's probably laughing because I feel like you're speaking to me seriously.
Oh, yeah.
When you said even if your parents are entrepreneurs, knowing that you're worthy, all of that, that's my daily battle. I've been in corporate now for 6 years, and it's great. Like, I'm so grateful because I honestly feel like my dad would always say, yes, you're up in this business, you're fully capable of keeping this business because you're passionate about it, but I want you to go out there into the world because that would also kind of validate that you are smart enough to, be in the corporate world. And if you do want to be an entrepreneur one day, you have both sides. You have experience with both sides. So that is awesome of how you been able to do both. Now you're doing both sides. But the question that, like for me personally, is how can I really, I know that, in corporate, we have a higher income than when you start out. So I'm going to go still back to like kind of Jana said, steps. Did you wait to leave your corporate job until you replace your income with coaching? Or did you just say like, all right,
No.
I'm done with corporate. I'm going to just hustle because I know I got to pay, my mortgage or my car, whatever expenses we have as adult life. So to me, I always battle with them. Like, should I just like cut dry and just say I'm done and just start a business? Or how was your journey? I don't know. I want to be inspired and inspire other people out there.
I would tell you, I think if you tell anyone, any adult what I did, they'll say yo soy una retardada. But, no offense to anyone, but I, just saved enough money and that's it. I was like, I'm done. I didn't have a backup job. I didn't have, something secured. They cut my, the thing is, if you see or experience the treatment that you get when you make a decision like that, after working for an organization for several years, and you see how much they don't care about you, they make it easy for you to leave. Well, at least that was my case, So I knew that I wanted to leave. My intuition, I don't know if you ever felt like if you're walking into a place and the energy is just off. That's how I felt every morning walking into that building. I felt like I was going to die. Like, I was like, oh my God, take me out of here. And that's my body, my intuition telling me that it's time to go. Once you start connecting to your soul and your intuition and your body, it starts to give you messages. Have you ever gone to a party or somewhere and there's someone there and you'd be like, I don't like that person. Mm-hmm. It's because their energy is off. There's something that does not vibe with your energy, and you have to trust those instincts. So that's exactly how I felt about my job. So it was time for me to go. So I didn't wait to get another job. I didn't have anything secure. It was just like, I have this amount of money saved. I have to make this work in order for me to survive.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
That's, sometimes the decisions that you have to make for yourself.
And did you feel that since that made you just hustle, grind harder because you said you have no other choice? Or did you still have that mental peace? Like, I can still take it easy. Because, mentally, that's also, from going from a stable job to like, oh my gosh, I don't know. What if I run out of my funds?
It's scary, man. It's scary. You need a very good support system in order for you to be able to face the challenging times, because there's times where you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But when you have that support system and the faith, like, no, like, this is what I'm meant to be doing, this is what I'm going to do, it works. But I can see how you can be alone and going through this alone and it being more challenging. So, anyone who has been on the fence about like therapy, I am so passionate about therapy. If you feel like you just need somebody to talk to, and I feel like in our culture, especially, being Dominican, eso es pa loco. Tú no puedes,
Yeah.
un terapista es pa loco. You don't need that. And it's like, no, we need to change that, because sometimes our whole lives can change just by talking to someone that's not our family or friends or family members. Just talking to a real professional can have life-changing impacts.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. At least I'm blessed. I work at a great company, super caring. All of my bosses super caring. Like it's like if I leave, it's not because of the company. It's just like personal thing, like personal desire that I've always had. So and I
That's
think
beautiful.
that also makes it harder for me. Of like I'm also so grateful because I've grown. I've had people invest in me, like a company to believe in me. But anyways, we could talk all day about that. But I'm so interested to know of like tell us a little bit more of neuro-linguistic programming and how is it that you combine that with hypnosis. Like I was just like, I've never heard of this. I want to know what this is. How can we put it into practice? Because like speaking of like when I hear hypnosis, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, like eso es brujería. Like that's what comes to
that's
mind
how
to
we
me.
grow up.
But that's why I'm like, I am like after we spoke to you, I'm like, yo sé que ella no es una bruja. So tell us, what is that?
Only in the mornings when I wake up, es que yo soy una bruja. But no, that's a great question. And, it's funny that you say that, because before I started not coaching, but like practicing hypnosis and going through the hours of hypnosis, I'm like, no, they're going to hypnotize me and make me do something crazy. Or, they're going to hypnotize me and take all my money, because that's in our culture. That's what we grow up listening to. But no, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is basically the study that everything that we think produces our behavior. So, if you think about where you grew up, the religion you grew up in, the household you grew up in, you're basically programmed at a very early age to think a certain way, which then as an adult keeps you from going after things or behaving a certain way because of it. And the way that NLP ties into hypnosis is because through hypnosis, we're able to actually basically put you in a trance to go back in time as to when you made that decision about yourself that is currently keeping you from achieving the goals that you want to achieve. For example, Rosiver, do you have, something that you might have been wanting to achieve, but sometimes you just feel stuck? I can practice a little NLP on you.
Yes. Is that like, so I don't know if this is too broad, but one of the things growing up, I always loved talking to friends and figuring out what's their passion and how to turn that into money. But with myself, I feel stuck. Like I still haven't been able to figure out, oh, that's my passion. Like I'm going to go around, this is what I'm going to turn a business into. And I think it was also, this is what I think. I just grew up just being told what to do. And I just feel like I need someone to just say, hey, I'm going to hold you under my wing. I see you have potential for this and let's do this. And there I feel like, oh my gosh, they saw potential in me. I'm going to do it because I'm the type of, you tell me this needs to get done, I'll get it done. But I also do struggle with the whole confidence and believing in myself. But I am one of those daydreamers, like, oh my gosh, I could do this, I could do that. But then I'm like, I just don't do it. I don't know. I feel like that was really long.
No, it's okay. So let's slice the pie. Let's go back into a time that you can remember that you made the decision that you didn't have confidence. But can you think back the first time that you were like, I'm not confident, or I don't love myself?
I would say like in college, like when I started out, I remember public speaking class, they would give us topics and say, topics I had no idea about, and I was not doing well. However, at the end of the class, we weren't able to choose our own topics. And then I chose my family's business to present on, do our marketing plan. And he was like, wow, that was a 360 change. Like, who are you? Like, and I don't know, like I was just like, I just did not feel comfortable at all. I don't know if that's a good example
So
though.
at that moment when that person made you feel like that, what decision did you make for yourself?
That I was just like, I'm gonna keep speaking about whatever comes to mind, speaking from the heart. And that same teacher, I ended up having my master's done, and we did study abroad. Then we came back and we did a presentation, and it was like I had people say, "Wow, like you really spoke from the heart," and I felt connected and you engaged. So ever since that, whenever I try to speak, I just say, if I speak from my heart, I know that that's when I feel confident, because I'm like, that's what I feel and that's who I am.
So you know that when you speak from your heart, right, that connects you to your confidence, right? And when
Right.
you're not in alignment is when you're not speaking from your heart.
Right.
So
That's
right
when I
there,
don't feel confident.
right. So right there, that's an indication for you that the things that you want to do and accomplish, your passions, have to come from your heart. And are you taking out the time every day to listen to your heart? Or are you just ignoring it because you consume yourself with how busy you are? Are you journaling from your heart? Are you dreaming from your heart? Because
I'm gonna cry.
all of us have our passions come from different places. So it clearly for you, it comes from your heart. So are you thinking with your heart? Are you living in a reality? Are you creating your reality from your heart? And the thing is that a lot of us keep ourselves from obtaining and going after the things that we want because people told us we couldn't have those things. Or, oh, that's not possible for me because I'm Latina. Or that's not possible for me because, I have an accent. Or that's not possible for me. Who cares? But we are taught to believe that those things can limit us and keep us from the things that we desire. The only people who put the barriers in our lives are either our society, our parents, or the world around us. But we're born limitless. We can create and be and do and have whatever we want. So that is like the practice of NLP, is to kind of like recondition your mind in order for you to start creating a life that you truly desire. And not a life that you feel like you deserve because of where you grew up or the circumstances that you grew up in. Because if you think about a lot of people like, the Tony Robbins of the world, or people like Oprah, these people came from difficult beginnings. So what sets them apart from us? Their mindset, the way that they look at the world. So are you working on your mindset every day and dreaming from your heart? Because you've been able to identify what works for you. So are you using that every day of your life? I know I get too deep. I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I love it. I love it. Like, this is what, when we were talking, like, this is exactly what I wanted to get out of it, because you gave us an explanation and you brought it to life. And to me, I'm having a reality check. I'm like, oh, like, I never thought about that way. And no, like, I'm doing things, as when we say adulting, we may not be doing what we love, but I have, like, for me, I have 2 kids, and I have things that we have to take care of financially. So I got to provide that stability. My husband's an entrepreneur, so I can't say, it's like, oh, like, the things that hold me back is like, I can't be the other entrepreneur that's going to be like taking risk, So
But
that's
according to who? That's a story that you're telling yourself. No, but I want you to observe that. Who's the only one that's saying that?
Me.
You, not anybody else. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, because obviously you have 2 kids, you have a corporate job. But if you once you start focusing on the hobbies that are coming from the heart for you, that's what's going to make it easier for you to be an entrepreneur. because you are doing things from your heart. So for you, it's not going to be a job. For you, it's going to be like, oh, I'm making money from my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the difference?
Yes.
An entrepreneur is like somebody that's like, okay, ¿cómo vamos a hacer dinero? ¿Cómo vamos a hacer esta compañía? Somebody that's living in their purpose is fun for them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So once you're in alignment with what it is that you want to be, do, and have, right? Because there's people out there who don't have goals because they're so busy with their lives, because they're so consumed with, the kids, the house, this and this and this. But you have to set time aside to like, where are you going? What is the GPS of your life taking you? So
Love
you have
that.
to start thinking about that. You have to start thinking about, where do I see myself 5 years from now? What are some things that I want to start doing? Maybe your passion is making parties for kids. That could be a business. People make money on, I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that that's what you want.
Yeah.
But the way that you can make that fun is like, okay, I'm doing this on weekends. My kids help me set up. I don't know, I'm just making that up. And I'm making $500 from a setup. That's a passion. You're not going to see that as like, oh my God, I hate this. If you have a creative mind and you love designing parties, then that's your passion. You know what I mean? So don't limit yourself as to like, I can't do this. Yes, you can. If you really desire it, you can.
Love it. Thank you so much.
We're the only ones that keep ourselves from going for more because we think so little of what we can achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, Marveliz, I love the fact that, when you mentioned the 5-year thing, like, honestly, like at the beginning, like in my life when I was younger and like I wasn't married and had any kids at the time, like I had like 5-year goals, right? Like I would think about the future and like, okay, in 5 years, I want to do this. In in another 5 years or all, all those things. And then once I started to get busy, right? Like and having responsibilities, like getting married and having an actual job and having kids now, every time someone asks me that question, honestly, it annoys me, but I think it's not because, whoever's asking me, but I think it annoys me because I haven't, like you said, it's because I haven't put the time into thinking into what is that going to look like for me in 5 years, right? Like I should be doing that, but then because I'm busy, like you said, like I have all these things happening, then I no longer take the time to do those things. So now it kind of like, it bothers me because it's just like, it's not you, it's basically me, right? Like I should be.
It's bothering you. It's bothering you because it's something that you need to be doing.
Exactly.
So the things that annoy us and the things that bother us is because subconsciously there are things that we need to be doing for ourselves. And what I would like for everyone to know, I am not by any means a mother, so I don't know how hard it is. I've witnessed, my sister-in-law, I have nieces and nephews and things like that, but through the work of coaching and helping so many women, and especially, to bring it in the topic of self-love, you have to be a solid in order to give. And your kids are going to learn how to feel empowered and how to love themselves through you. And that's why I kind of did this, because I didn't have a mirror. My mom is the best mom you can imagine, but she didn't teach me cómo se pone una crema, ven vamos peinarte. You know what I mean? How to take care of yourself, how to really have that confidence in yourself. So now you have to be that confidence for your kids. You have to be that example. And the only way that you do that is when you are your ultimate best. You need to have those 5-year goals. You need to know where your life is going, aside from your kids, your husband, your home. Because once you're 100%, the whole household is 100%. The kids, the husband, the dog, everything, Because if you're like, no, in 5 years, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. Boom. You said it and you forget it.
I know,
it happens.
But it's so hard because I don't know what, I guess like for me, the difference is like, okay, now I'm so busy because I have all these responsibilities, but it was so much easier at the time when I wanted, like I knew what I wanted out of life up until it happened, right? So
Right.
like, I know like, okay, and in this amount of time, because I'm a planner, like I planned everything and that's just.
Well, it's funny that you're a planner, but you're not planning your 5-year life.
And not
You
anymore.
you
And
see?
yeah. So that's the thing. Like as soon as I got what I kind of wanted in life, like at that point where I was like, by age, whatever. And by no means I'm telling anybody to do that because like that doesn't work for everybody, right? But for me, because I'm a planner, in my mind, I was like, by age 30, I want to be able to have, like kids, right? And I want to be able to be stable, like, and have a home and like all these things, right? And so as soon as the moment I accomplished those things and started to get super, super busy, they like that just left my mind. And it was like, okay, I got those things that, those are the steps that I wanted to take and I wanted to get there. And now I'm here. And then like, what's next for me, right? Like, what's the next 5 years look like for me?
Well, that goes into our culture because we're taught that ya tú te casaste, ya tú tienes hijo, life is over.
Right? Yes.
And life is just beginning. So that's why you never stop imagining, you never stop dreaming, because guess what? The kids are going to leave the house one day.
Right.
So what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your dreams and your goals, right? And I feel like that's a very cultural thing in the sense of like, ya tú te casaste, ya tú tienes hijos, ya tu vida está hecha. But it's not. Life is just beginning for you, especially if you had kids at such an early age, or if your 30s are your new 15s or your 20s, you know what I mean? So it's like, you never stop dreaming. You never stop aspiring for more. Like, let's look at Oprah, for example. She's not vieja, but she still has goals. She's still going after more. And she has so much money, but she still wants, you know what I mean? So it's like, you never stop dreaming no matter how old you are. And if you're not dreaming, then you're not living, because you're just in the constant rut of like the cycle. Okay, me levanto esta hora, esto es lo que yo hago. And then when you look back, it's 20 years later. And it's like, what did I do with my life? So to your point, and anybody that's so busy, start creating a self-love morning routine. Even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, start journaling. If you pray. If you meditate. If you don't know how to meditate, start learning how to meditate. There's guided meditations. There's so many things out there to help you. But writing a list of everything that you are to be grateful for. Because when you're grateful, that brings more joy into your life. Grateful for your kids, grateful for your home, grateful for your job, health, grateful for your health, for your family, all those things, you start to appreciate them more. So, for anyone that feels like, well, I haven't had any aspirations or dreams, or, the dreams and the aspirations that I have are kind of in the back burner because this is my life. It's like, no, never stop dreaming. Just write them down in your journal, things that you wish that you can see yourself. And that brings me to another point of NLP, which is visualization. So the mind can tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Have you ever noticed, not calling any of you guys a liar, but when we were younger and we would say a lie to our parents, we'll say it so much that we'll start to believe it. I don't know if you guys ever did that to them, but I know I did.
Yeah.
So that's because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, right? So if you can start to believe like, well, no, I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur. I'm going to have this. I'm going to invest in properties. I'm going to be whatever. I'm going to be the best mom. I'm going to be the best wife or whatever. And you start to close your eyes and visualize that. With time, those things will come to fruition because your mind will start acting in the way that it needs to act to be that person. So that's also part of NLP.
I love that you covered, because my next question was going to be, how does self-love plays a part into how you coach individuals through NLP? And so, you shared a little bit of that, but did you have any other, like tips or whatever that you normally like include within your coaching sessions that you basically tell your clients, like, reiterate the fact that like, self-love is so important, for you to be able to accomplish X, Y, Z or whatever? Like, how does that work?
Oh, self-love, I'm a true believer. And, there's so much proof out there that self-love is the catalyst for everything in your life. It's the catalyst for your personal relationship with yourself, you learning how to love yourself, you knowing the things that you like, the things that your love language. Half of the people in the world do not know their love language. And I know a lot of us don't know what our love language is. Knowing the things that excite you, the things that you like. If you don't love yourself, you're going to settle for relationships and friendships that are not good for you. You're going to settle and stay in careers that have already expired. You're going to just live a life of like whatever, like life is happening to you instead of you creating your life. So, self-love is what builds your confidence to go after things and to, just live a good life, whatever that looks like for you, And one of the tips that I would say is start by getting to know yourself. For me, journaling is very important because journaling is you writing down all of your thoughts and creating space for new things to come in. Like I discussed, visualization, it's very powerful. If you just put your headphones on and you find like meditation music on YouTube and you just start to imagine what you want your life to be like, or like what you want your life to look like, that right there will change your whole energy and your vibration for the entire day. Like that will make you feel amazing. Meditation, coloring. Start doing things that as a child you love to do to connect with that imagination again. Because again, as a society, we're not using our imagination. I know you guys have kids, and sometimes maybe your kids come and say something crazy, like out of this world. That's because they're still using their imagination. They're not programmed like we're programmed to think a certain way. So start thinking like your kids. Like, how do they see the world? Like, Mom, I want to be an astronaut and I want to do this and I want to save all the whales in the ocean. Like, they're thinking big. So start thinking big, Self-love also looks like having a morning routine when you're working out, loving your body. That's very important. Giving your body nutritious foods. Like I hear on social media so many trends of like fasting and intermittent fasting and all these things, and they do work. But as women, we're fasting during the time we're sleeping. So make sure that you're eating a big and nutritious and healthy breakfast every morning. Walking in nature, like all of these things that are free to us, we should be using them more. Because that's what brings us life and connects us to source. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, one of the things that I love that, and one of the things that we normally do ourselves and kind of promote a lot on our podcast, it's like a vision board, right? So like we create those things like, end of the year, beginning of the year, and kind of imagining like what we want to accomplish, within this new year. And how we're going to get that done, and having that, in front of you or whatever, in your house, wherever you can see it the most, right? So that it reminds you that like, yep, I put that goal in there and I need to accomplish that.
So look at it every morning and sit in front of that and just visualize it, and it will happen.
But I think the hardest thing is like, because I don't have a problem, creating those things and putting the time and effort into making sure that I like visualize and say like, okay, these are the things that I want to accomplish this year. I think once like the things like start going, and again, like, having kids and having a husband, having a job and all these things. And like, it's just hard to create the time to like, okay, let me go through, like, did I accomplish this? Like, or putting the time and effort to like, yes, I want to do those things, but like, how do I, like, I just don't, it's hard for me now, like having two kids, like, how do I actually get to do that? Does that make sense? Like, how do I force myself?
It makes sense.
I don't know how to explain it, but like,
I'll give you some secrets. I'll share some secrets with you regarding like the manifestation world and like vision boards. So, vision boards and the things that you put on your vision board, it's kind of like, I would say it again, think about it like the GPS. That's like the destination. Like, okay, this is what I want. But like the how you're going to get there is not you're not in control of that. Only faith and God is in control of those things. Your job is for you to every day take actions that can possibly lead you to that. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
It's about surrendering and like trusting that, okay, Every day I'm going to do something that's going to put me closer to that. And I feel like for us as Latinas, we try to overwhelm ourselves with like, oh no, I'm going to make a list of 100 things that I need to get done today. And it's like, just do one or two that can put you ahead. Where there is just, okay, today I'm very busy, but I'm going to take 5 minutes to send that email to somebody. Or today I'm going to do the research as to how I can end up in this platform or whatever it is that you're doing research on. But we love to overwhelm ourselves that we end up not doing anything on the list.
Yeah, and I think
You
it's right.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because like you said, because we put so many things, like for me, I mean, I try to limit it to like a certain amount now, like for the year, but regardless, I feel like because we put so many things on there, like I have to do all these things this year. And then you're like all over the place that you're just like, okay, like that's a lot. Like maybe I should just start like with 3 goals instead of like 7 goals or 5 or 8.
Or what you can do is like, let's say, I'll give you another example or another tip of how this can work. Sometimes we overwhelm ourselves with all of the things that we want to accomplish. And what I would like to say to that is like, what's one thing that if it happened, it will create a domino effect for all of the other things to fall into place. So for example, this is just an example. Let's say, you want to buy a new car. And like, that's your main goal this year. And, no, that's not a good example. Let me see. I get a tax refund, let's say that is like maybe $15,000. I'm just making this up, guys. Don't think that that's, the refunds that I'm getting, but let's just say, and getting that money allows you to get the car, pay the bills, and go on the vacation that you dreamed of. So only that thing needed to happen in order for all the other goals to fall into place. So instead of overwhelming yourself with like 20 goals, have your 20 goals, but identify which one is one that if it happened, it will create the domino effect for everything else to fall into place. Does that make sense? Because I just feel like people put too much on their plate, and sometimes it's just overwhelming that you end up not achieving anything. So condense it. What are 2 things that, or you know what, people that I've worked with, they do quarterly goals. So for quarter 1, this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I want to achieve. Quarter 2, quarter 3.
That's a different way too. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah. Because
it helps.
You could have, like, if you wanted to, it's talking about like, limiting like the amount of goals you want to accomplish in a year, you could potentially set 3 goals, essentially like big goals, and accomplish 1 each quarter, depending on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a good tip.
And that makes it more attainable. So now you've created a new way of thinking about your goals that makes it easier for you to achieve the goals, And the thing is, like, we just need to adapt the habits that we're doing on a daily basis in order for us to, have a new reality. But the thing is, like, we're comfortable in the life that we're living, and we don't grow in comfort. We grow in the discomfort of life.
Love it. I'm over here thinking I just need to consolidate all mine to be the first one, self-love, even though that was my last year's vision board name. I want to up here in the middle. But that, for me, that would definitely create the domino effect for many other things.
So can I ask you a question? What would be 2 things that you can start doing for yourself that would show you self-love?
I'm trying to think. If getting too personal would be number 1, just the relationship between my husband and I, just.
But that's not self-love.
And
I'm talking about you.
You got me stuttering here.
Oh,
is that just?
I can help you, but I want you to think about 2 things that you can start doing for yourself, not anybody else. I'm not talking about your kids, your husband, none of that. You as an individual, what are 2 things that you can start doing for yourself?
actually exercising, which I would honestly feel that would create a domino effect for many things of just giving my time to visualize, imagine, and to start loving my body more. And number two would be just being more intentional with what I eat, because those are the two things I've been having on my vision board ever since I started making them, and I just don't create that habit.
But do you see how uncomfortable that made you feel? Like to even think about that, but it's about you. And that's what people need to start thinking about. Like, even if it's uncomfortable, it's a reality check. Like, these are the things that I need to start doing for myself in order to be in a better place. And what I would say to the two things that you said, don't overwhelm yourself. I don't want you to go to the gym and work out 3 hours on your first day. Just go for a walk start going for a walk for maybe 15 minutes around the block. I know it's cold, but like, if you have a gym or anything or a membership, like only go for 30 minutes and then start building up. Because what we do is that we go, okay, ya empezó la dieta. And you know what you do? You cut everything out. And then you're miserable. So it's about making little shifts here and there that can allow you to maintain this for a long time.
Yeah. Yep, it's just motivating myself. So hopefully
motivation doesn't exist, but that's a conversation for another day. But
oh my goodness,
it's not about motivation. It's about you having the desire of like, no, I am a healthier person, so I'm going to adapt and adopt healthier habits into my life.
Got it. So I don't know, as one of the main things we wanted to talk about also is intuition, because I don't know what that is. And it's like, now that you said, oh, it's motivation. And I'm like, oh, I thought you would have to be motivated to follow your intuition. So now I really got to know of what this is, because I mean, you feel free to switch this around, but this is the way I was thinking, of finding out more about intuition. It's like, what can you provide us to help us understand that we can definitely accomplish what we really want in life? Like, how does that connect with intuition? Like, how do I manifest imagination? I know you've talked a little bit about that. But also going out there, like, if you can't decide what you want to do, how do you really come to decide that? Like, if I could give you an example for me personally, I've always been like, how can I decide what to do for income, find a mentor to guide me in the entrepreneur lifestyle, for example. I know that was a lot, but pick and choose on how you want to talk to us about intuition. What does that mean? Because I may have it wrong right now, because I honestly don't know anything about it.
Okay. So, it's a very loaded question, but we'll get through it. Okay. So intuition is something that you're born with. It's like, like how I gave the example earlier about like that energy, the vibe that you feel around certain people. And, sometimes you walk into a room or somewhere and you're just like, I don't like these people, or like, oh, my energy is off around these people. And it's for a certain reason. Intuition also, like, have you ever walked down a dark alley, or you're walking down the street and something tells you like, no, don't go down that way, or something tells you like it's protecting you. So your intuition is like, I would say your fairy godmother who's trying to guide you through life. And your intuition is very subtle and silent. That's why you need peace and quiet in order for you to start connecting to your intuition. You need to kind of quiet the mind in order for you to connect to your body. You need to be in that feminine energy, which, I don't know about you guys, in a Spanish household, we are taught to be strong women. And that's the opposite of feminine energy. So feminine energy is tied into your intuition, because that's what we are. We're women. So women need to like be centered, to meditate, not to get explicit, but orgasms, that plays into the female energy. And sometimes women go a whole lifetime without experiencing a whole orgasm. So imagine that, So it's about You felt it before. You felt your intuition. You just don't know that it is your intuition. When you have that knowing in your body that something is going right or something is going wrong, you just know. And the way that you connect with your intuition, again, is all the tips that I gave. Being in nature. Once you start working out and eating more nutritious foods and being more mindful of the things that you're doing and putting into your body, you start connecting with that. The reason why a lot of people feel like they don't know what their intuition is because they've been taught to ignore it or to ignore the downloads. And when you ignore something, it just goes to the away. It just goes to the back. Think about it like, have you ever had that little voice in your head that tells you no? And then you have that other voice that tells you yes. And in cartoons, they like to play it like the angel and the devil. You know what I'm talking about? Well, your intuition is the angel. Your intuition is of source, you know? That's the one that's guiding you. And it's telling you to take risks. And it's telling you to go after the things that you want. And then it's your ego, which they represent as the devil, the one telling you, oh no, you're not good enough. Oh no, you're not worthy. Oh no, you're not smart enough to be in that position. You understand what I'm saying? But your intuition is always telling you, no, go for more. Go ask for the raise. Go get that other job. Go apply. It's always pushing you to be more. And then your ego is the one keeping you like, oh my God, no, you know? And the way to connect to your imagination for the other part of the question is, again, the tools that I gave before. Start thinking big. What did you like to do as a child? For me, it was coloring. So I have coloring books everywhere. And sometimes, you know, I just sit and I just color and a good idea might come into my mind. Or a new way of thinking of something will come into mind. Play with Barbies. If that's what you did as a child and you love that, go buy some Barbies and play with your daughter. You know what I mean? So you need that playful energy in order for your imagination to soar. Because as adults, we don't use our imagination. We are so into like the routine, the list, getting this done. The house needs to be clean. The food needs to be cooked, shopping, this, blah, 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 blah. Why can't we just look at the sky and like dream of something? So that's where your imagination can start coming into play. What are your hobbies? What are the things that make you happy? Your passions and your entrepreneurship comes from your hobbies. Like you guys have a hobby, right? This is no longer a hobby. It can turn into a big business. You understand what I'm saying? So those are the things that you need to start noticing on a daily basis. Like, oh, I think I really like walking. And then as you're walking, mindfully, not on your headphones, not talking to a friend, but mindfully walking and looking at the trees and the birds and all this stuff, you will start receiving downloads and thinking of different ways to do things. But the reason why we always keep ourselves busy is because we don't want to connect.
We don't want to find the time to have to do that. So we're always adding on more to our plates, essentially.
Right. Like, when was the last time you showed yourself love? When was the last time you took yourself to a spa? When was the last time you took maybe a rose petal bath? That's what I'm talking about, like the juicy stuff, like love yourself. Those are the things that are going to connect you, and you're going to see, I know, yo no quiero vivir esta vida, yo quiero más para mí, yo quiero hacer esto, yo quiero, okay, I want to, continue my podcast, and then I want to do this, and I want, you know what I mean? Once you start feeling like that in your body, the whole world changes for you.
And then I think it just, and then it makes you find the time and want to actually accomplish those things. Like,
Exactly.
like you said, if I want this podcast to become whatever, or make money out of it, or whatever it may be with it, like, then we will intentionally find the time to make those things happen.
Exactly. But that can only happen when you have a clear mind, when you are in your element, when you are happy with yourself. Oh my God, think about it. When you go to the salon and you get that blowout and you come out feeling like a queen and you're just like, no one can tell you anything. That's how you need to feel on a daily basis. And once you start feeling like that, your whole world changes because no one can tell you anything.
I love that.
But it's because we allow people to infiltrate into our energy. And that's why coaching is around, because you need the support for those times. So I can give you the tools, but you also need the support.
Yeah, I have to, exactly. You need to get the support. And I think it's just like you said earlier, the coaching, but then you mentioned like, therapy, right? So like in order for you to get better at something where, you're dealing with something like, mental health stuff, like for you to get out of it, you need some extra support. And so that's when like therapy comes into place. And so having all those things in life, the coaching, the therapy, that's when you start to believing, right? That like, and shift your mindset, like you said.
Exactly.
Well, this was great. I know we could talk forever, but we also don't want to make this episode like super long for people to, to listen to. But I loved our conversation, Marveliz. I know Rosie did too. And before we, close it out and let you go, we do want to ask you, how can the audience reach out to you and connect with you if they ever wanted to learn about your services and like, have a coaching session? Because I mean, you provided a little bit of, like a taste of what it would be like. And it was great. I mean, Rosie, just listening to it, I'm sure the audience also like got a little, I know you said motivated, like being motivated.
Inspired. Let's say inspired.
Inspired. And maybe they want to reach out to you because they want more out of life too. And they need support for that. So how can they reach out to you?
So again, thank you, ladies, for having me. Anyone that wants to work with me or has any questions or wants to have a 30-minute discovery conversation just to see what we can work on can reach out to me via email at coachmarveliz@gmail.com. My website is coachmarveliz.com. And I am also on Instagram under Coach Marveliz. That's it. But it was a pleasure being on the show. And, to anyone that is out there looking for coaching or therapy, make sure you shop around and always connect with someone that speaks to you, that you intuitively know that is somebody that's going to bring the impacts and changes into your life.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Marveliz in Spanish, right? Marveliz. I love that name. Reminds me, like, I don't know, it sounds like a superwoman.
Oh, thank you.
It's because my son is to Marvel, so.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's offending, pero
no,
anyways.
It's not offending at all. I love that. I love Marvel too.
So thank you so much. I have so many notes here and I always take notes to do our closing. I'm like, where do I start? Pero I just want to close it out, ladies, with this was the biggest thing to me is that if you're not dreaming, you are not living. And for us to do that is to start, I would say, start following that intuition of how, we've just learned today. Because to me, I was saying like, oh, is intuition like following your instincts? Like that's what I probably was confusing it with. But intuition is, I want you to really start making the time to have that peace and quiet. And that's gonna be like the domino effect of having that self-care, that self-love. Because self-care, you make that peace and quiet. That's when you can do your journaling or your prayer, your meditation, anything that goes into that. And that's gonna lead you into that self-love, because as Marveliz told us that self-love is a catalyst of everything in our life. And also we've been talking a lot about, what do we want to achieve in this life, and how neuro-linguistic program NLP is about that visualization, and start practicing what you're imagining. So once you start putting that more into practice of what you want to accomplish, then goes into that, hey, I'm gonna actually, in this quiet time to follow my intuition, when I'm really gonna feel what I want to do, I'm visualizing. Write down your 5-year plan, as that's something that we stopped doing because we're always so busy. But I loved how she said that is our GPS. Ese es el GPS. El GPS de nuestra vida. Yeah. And also when we're actually, make that habit to have that peace and quiet, we also can really start identifying what is it that we could, from that goal, that big picture, take out to do a domino effect from those goals, or you have a vision board to say, all right, this one thing is going to create that domino effect. And also to then, hey, start doing one small task at a day. So ladies, I felt like I threw a lot at you as a call to action, but I was, trying to just put all of this into a summary because we just left with so much. I would say mic drops from Marveliz today, and hopefully you go back and listen to this episode. Definitely, this is an episode to listen to more than once because there's a lot of things here that we spoke about that may be foreign to us. Because to me, definitely, it was foreign. And also go and follow Coach Marveliz on Instagram. We will be having that in our show notes so we can start learning more and being more inspired. I definitely am. And go check out her services. Her services are also on her Instagram bio. So thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, Marveliz, so much for taking the time to be with us today. Hasta la próxima. Ciao.